Hi, you guys. Okay, so today I am talking about what I did in my business in the very beginning when I didn't have any customers. So we're talking this month about community selling. And so that is all about getting out in your community, finding those people that do want to purchase your products. But we have to get out there and do that. We have to um, uh, get out of our comfort zones to do the hard things to make sure our businesses are working and growing and we have new customers coming in. So when I first joined, I lived in northern Alberta. I moved there with my husband and my two children. I knew nobody. I lived there for 13 years and I still didn't know many people by the time I left. I had two best friends when I first joined Scentsy, and I had my husband and my two kids. That's it. I didn't have a huge friend base. I didn't have any of that. I did own a business beforehand. I used to make candles for about 6 years. So I did have a little candle um, group of candle people that used to buy all my things. So I did start out there as well. But when I first joined, I realized I'm like, who am I going to I clearly need to kind of get out into the world to find more people to be able to sell more products because my candle business, we only had a little customer base. And I needed a bigger customer base for this business to work for me. And all I wanted when I first joined was some pocket cash. And so it was to help my family with the groceries, to help my kids with the costs of doing their activities and, you know, one of them was in like gymnastics, and then I had one that flopped around to almost every single sport you can imagine. But my youngest was in competitive gymnastics for years, so I really needed some pocket cash, just money for myself, and because I never took any money from the family funds to buy myself anything. So I joined Scentsy just for some pocket money, and I quickly realized I'm like, how am I going to do this to make money? And the very first thing I decided to do was events. So I am a hermit, you guys. I don't have people in my life. I'm not the extroverted personality that other people are. People do not gravitate towards me. So I had to go out and work for my own business. So I used to do events for my candle company, so I decided to go back into events because it's the easiest way for me to be able to find customers, people I don't know, will come to my table, and then I need to figure out a way to keep them as my customer. So, since the very, very first day that I joined, I immediately started finding events within my community. And you don't need a ton of stuff. That's the biggest thing about people don't understand events. It's like you don't have to have all the stuff. The events that I started signing up for were like Saturday events that ran from like 10 to 4. So those could be your church community could have like a sales event. Your schools, where I lived, there was a lot of schools that hosted um, like seasonal events for like 10 to 4. And so that's what I did. I went into my community and found a ton of events, a ton of events. The tables were like $50. They lasted half the day. And I spent years building my clientele base with events. So I am fully on board with events. And if you need to get out of your house, if you need to get out into the community, I would recommend events. And they don't have to be expensive. So, like I said, the first events I started with were $50 tables, $25 tables, $50 tables. I don't know how much those little events cost now. Sometimes they run Fridays and Saturdays, but most times they're like Saturdays, and they usually happen in the season switch arounds. So you'll have spring events, then you'll have summer events, and then you'll have winter and Christmas events. Okay, so they usually do them 3 times a year, those types of events. The longer you're in the business, you may want to upgrade to bigger events, 2 days events, 3 days events, 5 days events, 10-day events. But you don't want to do that in the beginning. You want to start small. You want to start out with those $25 tables, the $50 tables, because that's what I did. And honestly, I built my entire customer base from events. I need to mute my phone here because I hear sound. And so you may be thinking to yourself, I can't afford events. You don't have to be able to afford events because you don't need to bring a lot of stuff. Events are usually based on the price of the table of what you need to bring. So if you bought a table for $50, all you need to sell at the show is $200 worth of product. So in your mind, you should be thinking to yourself, how much product is that? That's technically not a lot of stuff. That's, like a couple of 6 packs of wax bars, okay? So as long as you sell $200 worth of product when a table costs $50, you've made your money back for the table. And I've always considered that a successful show. If you break even, making back the amount of your show, that is a good show to me. I do not consider that a bust. So if my table costs $50 and I only sold $200 at that show, that is a bonus for me. So why is it a bonus? Well, you made your $50 back because you're going to reorder that $200. You're going to get $50 commission back. So you're good. Not only that, those customers that you had are now new customers of yours. Okay, so now you have to figure out a way how to keep those people coming into your business. I'll just give you a couple little tips. So first of all, booth cost times 3 is usually how much stuff we always say that you should bring. So if your booth costs $100, you're going to want to bring $300 worth of stuff. If your booth costs $50, you're going to want to bring, that's the kind of thing that I'm saying. Try to bring 3 times the amount of your booth cost to the show so you have enough on hand. But you don't have to bring $1,000 worth of stuff, you guys, to a $50 table show. It's just bring a display, bring some stuff you're going to sell. As long as you sell 200, you're good. So the best time to book shows, find shows, is a couple months beforehand. So if you are deciding right now, okay, I do need to get out into my community. I do need to find new customers. How am I going to do that? I'm shy to book events. But what do you need to do? So you need to now Google, Facebook, different shows in your area, the ones that you know about, and find out when the registrations are for them. If you are currently now looking for spring shows, you may have missed them. You may have missed the registration because you should be 3 or 4 months in advance because registrations usually are happening now because it is spring now, and shows are now going to start to begin in March, April, and May. So those are the 3 biggest months for spring shows. And so you should be looking now for those shows. And in the summertime, you should be looking now for summer shows, just so you're aware. And for winter shows, you should actually know those dates moving forward, but you actually need to make sure you know the registration dates at least 4 months in advance because else you're going to miss out on those shows. So keep that in mind. I talked about that. So some of the things that I do at events, now when I first began this business, I had people come to my booth and then I realized nobody was calling me back. That was a big problem for me, that nobody was calling me. I was stickering all my stuff, but nobody was calling me back. So I had to figure out a way that worked in my business that I was going to get repeat orders. So so I started figuring out ways to get repeat orders. So getting the contact information of the people, making sure that following up with them, making sure that they liked the product. That's the best thing to do. If you can get someone's contact information and just give them a quick text, or back in the day, we used to phone every person, that was at a show, or, and who does that nowadays? Like, could you imagine someone calling you, just by showing up at their booth? But that's what we used to do years ago because that's what everybody did 15 years ago. But now it's usually text. So if you get the contact information from people, you can always contact them after the show and just say, thank you for coming to my booth. I'm just double checking that you are enjoying the scents that you received. and that is kind of like a follow-up conversation. Over the years, it has changed for me. So you have to kind of decide of what works for you, but you have to get people as a regular customer. You have to get their contact information. And if you go and do an event, if you say nothing, you get nothing. Okay, let me say that again. If you say nothing, you get nothing. I've been to shows where I say nothing and I get no contact information. I get no new customers. I get nothing. Then I go to other shows and I'm like, do you want to get updates? Do you want to be added to this, and this? And they say yes, 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 yes. If you say nothing, you will get nothing. So remember that when you are doing events. If you are clearly just there to sell product and not do anything about adding customers in your business, you won't get anything because you're not asking for anything. So keep that in mind when you book tables for events. But there's a couple things that I've done on my tables throughout the years. The first thing, because when I first joined, to get customers, I did events. So I got my customers, and then I had to figure out a way at the show to book parties because that was the biggest focus of mine. My biggest focus was events, turning those people into regular customers, and then also then booking parties. So I was a party girl in the very beginning, and my business exploded when I started doing parties. I was doing parties of 10 people at a party. I was doing 20 people at a party. They were repeat partiers. And if you're not asking, remember, if you're not asking, you're not getting. Okay. So if you're not asking for parties, you're not going to get parties. Okay. So when I first began, I started doing a ballot box. We all know what those are. So I won't talk too much about them, but Jen has posted a really great slip that you can use at your event tables too, right? You put them in a ballot box, people fill it out, put it in a ballot box, and then someone gets something free after the show. So that in the beginning is how I received a lot of parties. I made sure that was on there. And yeah, so there's that. So ballot boxes you can have on your table and you can give something for free. Another thing that I do at my events that you might want to consider is, I need to print off another one of these. But this is a sheet for favorite scent ever. You can actually use this anywhere you want. Doesn't have to be to events, but I bring it to events because what happens? You go to an event, you're doing an event, and you have people come up to your table, and they're like, "Do you have any My Home?" And I'm like, "Nope, sorry, that's discontinued." Do you let them walk away when someone asks you for a fragrance that you don't have? Do you let them walk away? So do not let them walk away. What you're going to do is you're going to say, but if it ever comes back, do you want me to text you? And they're going to say yes. So you're going to take their name, their phone number, and what fragrance they want. I don't then go out looking for the wax for them. That's not going to make me money if I'm going calling consultants all over the place looking for wax. When it comes back and bring back my bar, that's when I start utilizing this sheet and start contacting everybody on the sheet. And so they know, I will say, it could be, if it comes back down in 2 years, you will get a text from me. So it's a list that I continue to keep going over time. You bring it to your parties. You make sure that you're asking all of your current customers, even in your VIP groups, what is your favorite fragrance? If it comes back, do you want to be notified? And so you'll have lists and lists and lists of people. Someone comes to your booth and they ask you, do you have any quiver? And you say no, and they walk away. What are you doing? Okay. Don't do that to yourself. You take their name and their cell number and say that you will text them as soon as you hear it ever comes back. Okay. So that's a big thing that I do at my events. Also, this is something new that I've been doing because I saw Christy Ritters does this at her events, and I'm just like, oh, you're so smart. That is such a freaking smart thing to do. So I started doing this. It's a QR code. This one, I need to redo it, but this one is for text notifications. I like sending out mass text to my local people and people I get from trade shows. So I like doing text. So they scan this, it'll go to a form, they fill it out, and all I need is their name and their phone number. and I sign them up for my text notifications. So anything brand new or when a sale happens, they're going to get this. If you don't have a text mail out, have this QR code go to your VIP group. You can bring the sheet, put the sheet on your table. You can sticker it all over your booth. You can have multiples of these hanging in your booth somewhere to say, join my VIP group. People actually scan this to wonder what it is. So they'll scan it and then add themselves to your VIP group. So this is huge too, to get new customers without, when you're super shy. Bring this wherever you freaking go. Join my VIP group. There's a QR code for it. Okay. So that can be placed all over your booth. Something I do also, and I've got, actually, I got a couple of people who joined my team, is samples. Putting samples in people's bags when they buy something at a show. People like it. But usually, like I usually make up a big package now. So this is what I do for my event shows. So I usually put, I mean, it can just be a thing of wax or whatever. I don't give this to every person that comes to my booth. If someone just purchases like a thick pack of wax or something, I will give them, I usually try and keep, uh, it'll be like one of these. I'll also have lots of these on hand just to throw in people's bags. This will be stickered. So this is the product sheets. This will be stickered with my information, a business card, and a sample attached to it. If it's like they're coming to my booth to purchase a light bulb, they're literally going to get this in their light bulb bag. Okay. So it's this business card sample probably. So utilize cheaper things for cheaper products. That's kind of what I do when I do events. The more they spend, the bigger the package they're going to get from me. Okay. So if they're purchasing like $100 worth of stuff, they're going to get the big package. Okay. Or if someone purchases a lot, they're going to get a catalog. I do not, here's a big tip. Don't put these on your table to have them gone within 3 seconds. Okay. I don't bring catalogs to my events because they cost too much. So I do bring a couple for people who are purchasing a whole lot of stuff. But normally in my packages, what I am readily sending out are these and the showcase brochures. Okay. So a showcase brochure, then I have the scent of the month, form of the month thing. I have information about joining. There's that. There is a business card, samples, and then thank you for your order. And on this one, I have on the back, then I have my website, I stock on hand, because I do have stock on hand. You cannot put these on your table because you can't have it readily available on your table, but you can have it under your table and put it in people's bags when they shop. And so this is my stock on hand. So they click that and they can just purchase from my stock on hand and I can deliver it to them later. And then text updates. So they can scan that, get my text updates. But that's kind of what I send out when people are purchasing from me from a show. Also, like I said, if you don't ask, you're not going to get. So if you want someone to get your text notifications, you have to specifically ask them, do you want to get notified when Scentsy has a sale? If you want them to join your VIP group, you have to say something to be able to get that. Do you want to join my VIP group? Here is the QR code. Make sure you scan that and add. So events are a huge, huge, huge way. If you are introverted, if you have a difficult time meeting people, events are huge. They are huge, okay? They can be huge if you want them to be huge. Start out small and kind of work your way up. So let's just say, and be smart about it. Be smart about the stock that you're buying because, this isn't the type of business where we buy $5,000 worth of stuff and now you have nowhere to sell it, okay? If you're going to do a table for $50, you do not need stock like that. You just need a couple $100 and that's about it. And usually it's kind of stuff that you already have on hand. So if it's just a $50 table, bring what you have. You can grow from that. If you sell $300 at the show, you're going to reorder $300 when you get home. If you sell 500, you're going to reorder 500. Keep that rotation going like that. Okay. Don't pocket the money. When you pocket the money, you'll always it'll always feel like you're always in the red with doing events. So if you sell 300, you're going to reorder 300, and then you get those free and half price rewards to use. So I talked about that. 38% better. But yeah, so that's pretty much it, you guys. Like literally when I first joined, that's immediately the very first thing I did. And I built a massive customer base doing events. And I'm still doing events. I personally no longer do the one-day events. I'm for doing events for the last 15 years. The older you get, the harder it is. So if you're young and you're agile, you get out there and do those events. I don't do the one-day events anymore. I usually do 5-day events or 3-day events. I won't do anything smaller than that. But if you are first starting, you make sure you get out there and start finding those 1-day events or those small weekend shows. Anyway, that's how I was able to get my name out. That's how I was able to find new customers. And then I used those customers to be able to book parties. And I'm still doing that today. That's still how I'm rotating my customer base. That's still how I'm finding new customers. And that's still how I'm finding new parties in my business is by doing events because I've continued on in my business. And it's like my biggest thing in my business is that's what I'm doing. Anyways, so if you have questions about events, don't hesitate to post underneath this video. But good luck. It's community selling week, so get out in your community and find those places that you can sell your product, that you can promote the product, that you can hand something to someone for free, that you can like talk to somebody about Scentsy somewhere. That is the whole gist of this whole program this month is community selling.